Hey everyone, so today we are going to talk about finding the right program that works for you. The reason why this is really important is because you don't want to waste your money nor your time in a program that's not going to bring in a benefit to you. Um, and that's really important because if you think about it, most times in which you're getting your bachelor's, um, it's possible that you will be spending money in some capacity, that being out of pocket, that being through a loan, or if you're fortunate through scholarships, fellowships, grants, and a sponsorship by a third party. So, but in any case, you want to make sure that you are getting the most for the time that you're going to be there, right? You don't want to um, take 4 years of coursework, get out, and you can't find a job, right? You really want to secure your employment. Um, you really want to secure the next part of your life. Um, as soon as you can, really. Yesterday, I was speaking to um, a classmate of mine, and a lot of my classmates are um, in the public administration field, and I'm like the only education person in there. But he was telling me how he's happy that he's taking the program. He's happy that he's doing the program that he's in because they really connect you to businesses, companies, and allow you to work for a company for a year as an internship. But a lot of times, once you're done with that internship, it turns into a full time position. And so he's like, I really do love seeing that my money is going to work. And that I'm able to transfer the knowledge that I learned in grad school to the workforce. Um, and so that was a conversation I had last night, actually. And so when you think about, your afterlife, right? The afterlife of college, you want to make sure that you are getting from point A to point B. I always talk about this. Going from point A to point B is really important in becoming whatever it is that you want to be, right? Not only that, but you are in the position to use your skills, your knowledge, your information that you have, that you have acquired from these years of schooling, and put to use in some capacity. That being as an entrepreneur, that's being working for a company, that's being partnering up with someone else and making something. You're in a great position, actually. And you don't always have to go into being, an employee of a company. You can, make your own startup, right? Make your own company, become entrepreneurial, and go from there. But you need to have a plan of action from day one, right? Day one, in which you're trying to figure out what it is that I want to do. Figure out, what do I want to be, right? What do I want to be? Where do I want to be? Where do I want to live? Do I want kids? Do I want to have a certain lifestyle? What is it that I want to do? And where do I want to be? You have to be very realistic with yourself, right? With yourself, you need to figure out, what do you want? Where do you want to be? Because if you want to live a middle class lifestyle, but the program that you're going into does not allow for that, then you need to either change the lifestyle that you want, or you need to change the career that you're going to go into, right? And that's just being honest, because, we have an idea of what we want 4 or 5 years from now, but, we're not making realistic steps to make that happen, right? And you have to think like that. Also, what you have to do is stop thinking about now, right? You're thinking about, okay, well, I make this amount of money right now. 4 or 5 years from now, I don't think I can be where I want to be. No, you have to plan for the future, right? Your circumstances right now do not have to determine your future. It does not. And sometimes we get stuck in the mindset that, well, I'm here right now in this circumstance. I don't think I can get from point A to point B because of where I'm at now. No, that's why you have a plan. What are you going to do? What steps do you have in place to get from point A to point B? It's not about where you're at now. Okay, great. I understand that, right now you're right here. But in maybe 3 or 4 years, you can be over there. So don't stifle yourself and hinder yourself in your progression, right? You can get from point A to point B if you believe that you can, right? With realistic steps in between. Very, very important. Have steps in between to make that possible. So, one, make sure that the program that you're going into is working for you. What does it offer, right? How many times a year is it offered? What comes along with the program? Do they have internships? Do they have mentoring? Do they have stipends for students? Do they have the ability to have you on campus with on-campus housing paid for? Do they have world-class experts on your campus? Are the professors practitioners, or are they just researchers? Ask all of these questions, because depending on what you're trying to do and what you're going into, those questions will be very important for you, right? Let's say you're, let's say you get an EDD in education, right? A doctorate of education. And so you're a practicing teacher, you're an administrator, and you want to stay in that role. You're not interested in being a professor. You're not really interested in, in being in academia. You like where you're at. And so you're like, should I get a PhD or should I get an EDD, right? PhD is more research oriented for those that want to be in academia, for those that want to become a professor. But for the EDD, or for those that really want to stay, stay in the practice, maybe more in a leadership role, or more like in a leadership role, then an EDD will be better for you if you want to stay as where you are at, right? And so, that's one thing that you have to understand. What is my end goal? What is it? And I had to, have a heart-to-heart with my professor recently. And because my professor was like, as a doctoral student, I was shuffling up a wife, children, a full-time job in a classroom, and I was going to school as a doctoral student. It became too much, right? I had to cut back on teaching in the classroom and focus on my graduate studies, because I couldn't do all of it. And he said, you have to know what you want. Be very intentional about what you want. What is your end game? If you don't know what your end game is, then you're going to be out there, floating and just going really nowhere. You're going to be where you're going to be, wherever you land. Like, if you want to be here, you need to do this. If you want to be here, you need to do this, right? Have a plan, because, for me, right? Like, for me, I'm getting really passionate about this. So for me, I tell you before, a PhD student. And so the degree itself is a training. It's a training for going into higher education as a professor. And so you're being trained how to research, how to think critically, how to gather knowledge, and, analyze, dissect it, all of this stuff to prepare you for a life as a researcher. Right now is like your training period. You're being trained on how to, acquire and refine these skills that you need for your lifelong job position as a professor. He said, well, you can do that, right? Or if you want to be a classroom teacher for the rest of your life, then you can go and teach at a K through 12 school on top of doing your doctoral program part-time. But, just know that there's consequences to doing that, right? If you are in a PhD program, your focus is on your training. This is your full-time job. You are not, there is no other job for you. This is your training. This is your job. Make it happen. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Right? So know what you are doing, right? What do you want from your program, right? What is it that you want? That is just what it is. What do you want? What do you want your program to do for you? And once you realize what you want it to do for you, then you will start asking the right questions. Okay, well, if I want to be a researcher, if I want to be a researcher long term, then I need to be on a research team. I need to be doing projects with professors. I need to be taking courses on research methods, right? All these things are what you are needing to do to get from point A to point B. And so just like me, same for you. Figure out what you want to do and what you need to do in order to get from point A to point B. All right, y'all. Until next time. Bye.